The rain fell in steady sheets over Norfolk Naval Base, blurring the morning into a gray wash of movement and noise. Uniforms flashed through the mist, boots struck the wet pavement in rhythm, and commands echoed against the steel and concrete that carried the weight of a nation's defense. But in the midst of that order and structure, one man stood quietly by his truck, tying his son's shoelaces. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Hale didn't look like a legend. To anyone passing by, he was just another sailor, a father dropping his boy off before duty, dressed in the plain windbreaker of a man who'd seen more than he spoke about. His son, Jordan, 7 years old and all curiosity, tugged on his arm. "Dad, do you think they'll let us see the ships today?" Marcus smiled faintly, the kind of smile that barely reached the eyes. "Maybe. Depends if we behave." He said it softly, almost like muscle memory. Years of discipline had trained his voice to stay calm even in storms, external or internal. Behind them, the sound of an approaching convoy drew their attention. Black SUVs. Polished boots hit the pavement before the doors even closed. The air changed, the kind of subtle shift that happens when rank walks into a space. Admiral Preston Layton, tall, silver-haired, and famously old school, stepped out with his aides. His reputation was carved from steel, precise, proud, and unflinchingly traditional. He scanned the area and his eyes landed on Marcus and the boy. The Admiral's lips twitched, amusement, maybe curiosity. "Well now," he said loudly enough for his entourage to hear. "Didn't know the base started letting civilians park this close." Marcus straightened slightly. "Morning, sir." The Admiral's gaze narrowed at the plain clothes. "Chief Hale, is it? Haven't seen you around before." Marcus nodded respectfully. "Transferred back last month, sir." "Transferred back?" The Admiral tilted his head. "From where?" Marcus hesitated, eyes flicking toward his son, who now stood at attention, mimicking what he'd seen his dad do countless times. "Special assignments, sir." The Admiral smirked. "Special, huh? Well, every SEAL claims that. You got a call sign, Chief?" There was a faint laugh among the officers standing behind him, the kind that hides in politeness but carries the sharp edge of mockery. Marcus didn't move. His face was unreadable, as if carved from calm itself. "Yes, sir," he said finally. "Well?" Layton pressed, arms folding. "What was it?" Marcus's voice was low, controlled, but it carried, like a wave rolling through the air. "Iron Ghost, sir." The Admiral's expression froze for half a heartbeat, then he forced a short, dry laugh. "Iron Ghost? That sounds like something out of a video game." The laughter returned, louder this time. Marcus didn't react. He simply reached down, squeezed his son's shoulder gently, and said, "Come on, Jordan. Let's not be late." But something in that name had already begun to stir through the ranks, invisible threads connecting memory to rumor, rumor to legend. One of the younger officers, Lieutenant Vargas, frowned faintly. "Sir, did he just say Iron Ghost?" The Admiral turned slightly. "Yes, why?" Vargas hesitated. "There was a classified file, sir. Operation Silent Breakwater, the man who led the extraction of 13 hostages under fire in Somalia, they said his call sign was Iron Ghost. The one who disappeared after the mission. Some of the older SEALs talk about him like." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Like what, Lieutenant?" "Like he wasn't supposed to exist, sir." The rain thickened, muting everything for a moment except the sound of water dripping off the Admiral's cap. His eyes shifted toward Marcus and his boy, both walking toward the base entrance. For the first time in a long while, Preston Layton didn't have a word to say. By noon, the rain had cleared, leaving the base glistening under a pale sun. Admiral Layton sat in his office overlooking the docks, ships lined like sleeping beasts, engines silent but hearts of steel waiting for orders. He hadn't been able to shake the name. Iron Ghost. It lingered, clinging to the edges of his thoughts like the scent of cordite after a shot. He had heard it before, once, in a classified debrief nearly a decade ago. Leighton turned to his aide. Vargas. Pull everything on Operation Silent Breakwater. Clearance code Delta 5. Now. The lieutenant hesitated. Sir, that's top secret, even for your level. I know what it is, the Admiral snapped. Get it. Minutes later, the secure file appeared on his encrypted terminal. The Admiral scrolled through redacted lines and blurred photographs until one image stopped him cold. A team of 12 SEALs emerging from the Somali coastline under moonlight, and at the front, a man carrying 2 wounded soldiers on his back. The caption beneath was simple. CPO Marcus Hale, call sign, Iron Ghost. Status, classified. Weeks later, a new training program appeared across the SEAL divisions, one emphasizing humility, integrity, and service beyond ego. At the bottom of the manual, in small letters, was a single line. Dedicated to Chief Petty Officer Marcus Iron Ghost Hale, the man who reminded us that true strength is silent. And somewhere, standing at the edge of the pier as the sun sank low, Marcus watched the water ripple, his son beside him, small hand in his. Dad, Jordan said softly, are you going back to work? Marcus smiled, eyes fixed on the horizon. No, son. I already did my work. Now it's time to teach you how to stand tall. The boy grinned. Like Iron Ghost? Marcus laughed. No. Like yourself. And as the wind carried the last light of day across the sea, the legend of Iron Ghost faded back into the quiet, where it had always belonged. The Admiral leaned back, eyes widening as the truth assembled itself like fragments of glass. The man he'd mocked that morning wasn't just another SEAL. He was the Iron Ghost, the legend whispered through training camps, the one who'd led rescue missions others called impossible, who never left a man behind, and who vanished without ceremony after saving more lives than anyone could count. Leighton whispered to himself, what the hell are you doing back here, Hale? Meanwhile, at the base's training compound, Marcus stood silently as his son watched a group of recruits run the obstacle course. Every shout, every grunt, every fall, it brought back memories he'd tried to bury. One of the younger instructors approached him, wiping sweat from his brow. Sir, Chief Hale. It's an honor, man. The guys still talk about you. They said you used to run this course in half the time. Marcus smiled faintly. That was a long time ago. Still, the instructor said, lowering his voice, you should have had your own command. Why'd you walk away? Marcus's gaze drifted toward his son, laughing now, pointing at a Navy helicopter in the distance. Because I spent too long fighting wars outside, and forgot about the one waiting for me at home. The instructor nodded slowly, a quiet respect settling between them. Later that evening, an emergency alert swept through the base. An explosion had rocked one of the offshore vessels during a live-fire exercise. Communications were scrambled, and the Admiral's voice thundered across the comms. Base command to all units, we've lost contact with SEAL Team 9 aboard the Carter. Multiple injuries. Fire spreading below deck. We need immediate extraction teams. Marcus's heart sank. That ship was docked just 2 miles out, the same route he'd once navigated blindfolded in training. Jordan tugged at his sleeve. Dad? What's happening? Marcus knelt, looking his son in the eyes. Something serious, buddy. I need you to stay with Officer Reed, okay? No matter what. The boy nodded, fear flickering behind brave eyes. Without another word, Marcus sprinted toward the docks, muscles remembering the rhythm of survival, boots slapping against wet steel. He didn't ask for orders. He didn't need permission. Iron Ghost was awake again. Act 3, The Return of Iron Ghost. By the time Admiral Leighton reached the command deck, the monitors showed chaos. Smoke poured from the Carter's bow. Crewmen scrambled like shadows against firelight. Who authorized the launch of that rescue boat? Layton barked. The operator looked up, stunned. Sir, no one. It launched itself. Single occupant. The Admiral leaned closer to the feed, and there he was. A small gray Zodiac cutting through black water, waves crashing around it like claws. The man at the helm moved with precision, no hesitation, no panic. Just purpose. Layton's throat tightened. That's Hale. Minutes later, Marcus climbed aboard the burning vessel. The air was thick with smoke, the sound of ammunition cooking off like thunder. He moved through it as if the fire respected him, guiding 2 injured sailors toward the exit, dragging a third with one arm. When a steel beam collapsed, blocking the path, Marcus didn't hesitate. He lifted it, sheer will against weight, and pushed the men through. Go, he shouted. One of them looked back, coughing through smoke. Chief, what about you? Marcus's eyes were fierce beneath the soot. Nobody gets left behind. Those words, spoken years ago in a different desert, came back to life, the same creed that made him a ghost and a hero. When the last man was pulled aboard the rescue boat, the deck gave way. For a terrifying moment, the screen in the control room went black. The Admiral's voice cracked. We lost him. Then, through the smoke and ruin, the camera flickered back on. Out of the flames, Marcus Hale rose, drenched, exhausted, carrying another unconscious sailor over his shoulder. He made it to the edge, collapsed into the Zodiac, and hit the throttle. The control room erupted in stunned silence. Vargas whispered, Sir, he just saved 6 men. Alone. Layton couldn't speak. His chest tightened with a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years, humility. Hours later, the rescue crew returned. The base had gathered in near silence, lining the docks. When Marcus stepped off the boat, his clothes torn, face smeared with soot, the same Admiral who'd mocked him that morning stood waiting. Layton removed his cap. Chief Hale, he said quietly, voice heavy with respect. I owe you an apology. I didn't know who you were. Marcus looked at him, calm as ever. Doesn't matter who I was, sir. What matters is who we are when someone needs us. For a moment, the 2 men stood there, one built by power, the other by principle. Layton nodded. You've reminded me of something I forgot. Thank you, Iron Ghost. Marcus gave a faint smile. It's just Marcus now, sir. His son ran to him, hugging his waist tight. Around them, the base broke into quiet applause, not for rank, not for reputation, but for the man who never needed recognition to do what was right. Epilogue.